In particular, a recent case that was decided by the US Supreme Court opened up the World Bank's International Finance Corporation to litigation for the first time in a case called Jam et al. Versus International Finance Corporation, a case that involves petitioners who were suing the International Finance Corporation over environmental impacts arising from a coal-powered plant in India. And in that particular case, the Supreme Court of the United States said, yes, they will permit their local courts to sue, or rather to recognize these particular claims against the International Finance Corporation on the basis of what is called a tort, on the basis of harms of the due care that the bank supposedly owed as a lender. Now, we don't know where this kind of litigation is going to go, but it highlights exactly the kind of dissonance that we also have in the system. Because, yet again, we depend on whether or not local or individual courts are going to recognize the possible responsibilities of international development institutions, banks, or even states for that matter, who are particularly dominant in infrastructure lending. We depend on individual jurisdictions to make these decisions. What happens is that in the meantime, in the aftermath of particularly long environmental consequences from development lending, accountability happens so far, so few, and potentially is pushed too further down the road. I don't have to put the classic, I don't have to remind everyone of the classic case of probably a case that existed long before I was born, with what has happened in Amazonia, where particularly in Amazonia, indigenous peoples are still looking for redress for the long-term environmental damage that was caused from particular operations of a certain petroleum company. And what that has occurred is that multiple parallel series of litigations around the world that may have favored certain individuals at the expense of indigenous communities themselves. Again, because no one is able to assert a direct right when it comes to economic policy making. No one, whether affected communities, individuals, groups, or otherwise, can feasibly say in international law that states, when you make these decisions, states, non-states, international organizations in the development space, when you make these decisions, you have to look at what the human rights impacts and consequences are. To this date, we are spending a lot of time, and my colleagues in the business and human rights space acknowledge this, we're spending a lot of time encouraging compliance, corporate social responsibility, and yet we forget that in 1986, states did say that there is a right to development and we are supposed to encourage free, meaningful participation for all. It cannot come at a more right time than now, when the entire international economic system, the rules of it are being rewritten. And as we speak, they're being rewritten without the participation of most of those who are directly vulnerable and affected by these rules. So my main takeaway here in this brief presentation is to say that should there be a legally binding right to development, not only will this institutionalize what we understand by free, meaningful participation and force states to question whether or not there are any win conditions for the realization of the integral development of the human person, and also internalize human rights-based approaches. What is the greatest virtue of this is that it will strengthen the participation of communities who are never represented in the economic system, but have to rely on states to represent them. It will ensure that doing human rights impact assessments for economic decision-making will be a matter of ordinary practice, as opposed to now when it is still a matter of discretion and voluntariness of certain states, or a matter of trying to encourage responsible behavior instead of looking at accountability to all communities concerned. And most importantly, there will be genuine consultation rights, not just symbolic, genuine consultation rights for communities that are affected by either trade decisions particularly the decimation of jobs, the matter of trade creation and trade diversion, or in international investment, where foreign investment operations may end up changing your environment, may end up displacing labor, may cause long-term human rights impacts, or in the space of international finance development, lending, and sovereign debt restructuring, when the most vulnerable communities in and of themselves are not present at the writing of the new rules. This is the experience of economic crisis is no longer the experience of just the developing world. If there's anything that we learned in the last 10 years of the global economic crisis, the wealthiest nations of the world are just as vulnerable, who also possess communities who are just as vulnerable, just as disempowered, and equally unheard as everybody else. It is with this urgency, the sense of urgency, that, in my view, adopting a legally binding instrument on the right to development fills that gap. For the first time, should there be such an instrument, communities will no longer have to beg courts to recognize, courts or governments or agencies or organizations will no longer have to beg for personality to appear. Because having that right means that you will, as a right bearer, be entitled to demand accountability for it. Whether it's in the form of compliance, which I'll discuss tomorrow, or stronger forms of adjudication, which are also potentially something that may evolve in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane, for that excellent presentation, reminding us of the relevance and the importance of right to development in all spheres of life, particularly in our presentation in trade, investment, finance, and how they relate so closely, how arrangements made in Geneva or New York, in fact, relate closely, so closely to the everyday realities of millions or billions of people around the world. Thank you again. And let me now pass on to Professor Koen de Vijter, another long-time advocate of the right to development, Professor of International Law in the University of Antwerp in Belgium. He will again remind us of the importance of the holders of the right to development, and that is the individuals and the peoples. Thank you.
Yes, so I'll take somewhat different perspectives. My talk is called The Right to Development from Below. And from below means the perspective of the rights holders, as said in the treaty, in the declaration, running ahead of myself, in the declaration, individuals and peoples, but in the context of leaving no one behind, I think we're particularly interested in marginalized communities and vulnerable groups or disenfranchised groups or whatever you want to call it. So the question really is, what do we know about the practice of these groups in trying to rely on the right to develop? In what circumstances do they perceive that their right to development has been violated? What sort of threats do they think are important in the context of the right to development? And who do they identify themselves as the duty bearer? In my own experience on researching on the local effects of human rights among marginalized communities, and we've done quite a lot of field work in the global south on these issues. It's not self-evident that marginalized communities will blame the state. You know, if you're next to an open mining pit, you may say, well, it's a corporate. The real problem is the corporate sector, or you might blame the IMF or the World Bank or whatever. I mean, so although our human rights protection system may be focusing on state as a duty bearer, if you ask marginalized communities, they may not necessarily identify the state. They may also blame themselves and not blame anyone at all. They may say, well, when we did research in the Congo, for instance, people don't blame the state because they have no expectation whatsoever of the state. So who's going to realize development? We have to do it ourselves. Or donors will do it for us. We'd rather have a donor, to try and find a donor. Or when we were looking at migrant communities in China and the right to education of their children when they moved to big cities, they were saying, well, it's our responsibility to ensure that the children get into good schools. Because we as parents have to ensure that, so it's sometimes more complex in the field when you go and try and research among marginalized communities. Maybe their perceptions of who is to blame are not necessarily the same as, and what are threats to their human rights and the right to development also may differ from how we conceive these rights at the treaty level. Now, I think nevertheless it's important to try and learn from the practice of marginalized communities in relying on human rights. Because, if we want to decolonize human rights, then the practice of local communities and their experience in trying to use them is crucial in terms of the further normative development of the system. Because they know, it's the people that are poor and marginalized, right, that know what the threats are like and what would help in responding to that threat. And so unless we learn from their experience in the interpretation of existing rights, but for instance also in the qualification, in the drafting of a new treaty on the right to development, that treaty will not be effective in responding to what they see as the threats on the ground. So, what do we know about the practice of vulnerable communities in relying on the right to development? I think we know very little. We know very little. And there may be different explanations for it. It may be that vulnerable communities are not relying on the right to development. That they're not doing it. That it's not a concept that speaks to them yet. That they're relying on the rights. So there may be an objective problem in terms of awareness, in terms of how they associate with the concept. That may be one explanation. There may also be that we have a lack of interest as an international community in finding out. We look at drafting processes like the one we started this morning as interstate processes, and a number of state delegations have explicitly said we want this to be an interstate negotiation process, right? So since our drafting processes are organized that way, from that process there's no particular reason to look at what the communities themselves may experience. But there may be another reason, another aspect to it, and that is that gathering data and doing research on marginalized communities, if you want to hear the voice, and I know